And while he's coming up here, just want to publicly thank Austin and our Public Works Department and our Emergency Management Department. There's been a lot of work done that goes unnoticed, I think, and we appreciate what you do.
So, I almost convinced myself that we were going to be okay. We still might, but I don't know. What do you guys want to know about?
What can you tell us about East Canyon? What kind of update do you have with that? Because from everything I heard the past 3 days, we've been trying, it only allows 300 CFS out of it, so we know much more is coming in, and they had to tighten that down a little bit because of the immense amount of water coming in below. Is there any update on that, Austin?
Yeah. East Canyon's gaining 3 feet a day. So if it continues at this rate, it will spill in 10 to 11 days.
So the reservoir is gaining 3 feet.
The reservoir is gaining 3 feet a day. There's over 800 cubic feet per second going in. It's supposed to max out tonight, but more than that. Jeremy Ranch Road, there was an Uber driver attempt to go across Jeremy Ranch Road. They were unsuccessful for the amount of snow that's still on the roadway. We went up and rescued them in our tracked up Can-Am, and there is water running across Jeremy Ranch Road. So we'll have to put Jeremy Ranch Road on the list of county infrastructure that's going to need to be fixed. And there's a significant amount of snow that's still yet to come down through that area. So we're letting out 102 cubic feet per second right now out of East Canyon because of the flows coming out of Hardscrabble. And yeah, we're gaining over 3 feet a day in East Canyon. So
would Hardscrabble be considered mid-elevation snow
yes.
melt?
Right now.
The mid-elevation snow at Hardscrabble, I just looked at the SnowTel site. This year, on an average year, should have 1 inch of water left in the snowpack, and we're over 27 inches of water at the mid-level snow that's got to come out.
So if it stays nice and warm for the next 7 to 10 days before high-level snow start to come down.
The party's over
Yeah.
at that point.
But we're going to have rain later this week.
One thing about East Hardscrabble, it has risen since I was there this afternoon or early this afternoon. It was within 6 inches of the bottom of the highway, and by the time I came back down, it was higher than that, but it was not coming over it yet. So
Right now,
It's
thanks
getting
to you guys approving overtime, we have 2 deputies out. Last night it took 3 of us. I went up. It was coming out of Red Rock, and we diverted it so it didn't wash out the state 66 state road. And we were prepared to close Morgan Valley Drive at Deep Creek. The water was actually starting to come out on the roadway, but at 8 o'clock, for reasons unbeknownst to me, it started to go down. So we've shut. The Army Corps of Engineers is not really happy with Weber Basin because we've slowed East Canyon down enough that it's everything we slowed down out of East Canyon is now coming out of Hardscrabble.
But can I add, Austin?
Yeah.
1,000 CFS is currently going out to Willard. And Willard's almost full,
Correct.
and then 1,000 will continue to go out the other side of Willard. So they're taking 1,000 out there.
Right.
And from what I can see, down at the Plain City gauge, which is the last gauge before it goes to Ogden Bay, it's at 4310 CFS. And
Right now. Yeah.
right now, I think there was only one other time in 2017 for a night, it was at that level. And then before then, it would have been clear back in 12 when we had the major flooding happening that it's been that high. So I guess I want to make sure in the public setting that the residents or whoever's listening might understand we are doing everything possible to hang on.
For as long as we can.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
so Weber Basin actually slowed the flows out of all of these reservoirs in an attempt to reduce, because they knew it was coming out of
Correct.
the drainages below the reservoirs, in an attempt to reduce the flooding that's occurring now in Weber County.
Correct. And the last couple of days, we've started to have that mid-level snow melt. We've started to see flooding in Croydon as well. Croydon was they were still frozen up there, but now we're starting to see flooding issues in Croydon as well. So right now, the major flooding issues are Croydon, Island Road, portions of Porterville, and the Deep Creek area are the main focuses we have right now. Peterson Creek seems to be holding their own right now as we speak, but Weber Basin also closed down Echo Reservoir. Echo is pushing about 1,300 cubic feet per second, and they've lowered it down to 5 and change.
304. currently.
304.
300.
Okay. And so as everybody looks out and sees the river flowing at how it's been flowing the last few weeks, that does not include the water coming out of the reservoir. The benefit we have with Echo and Rockport reservoirs is they're about 25-ish% full. The problem with that is there's only 300 cubic feet per second coming out and going into Oakley, into Rockport, where in 2011 I was working up there and it was pushing 3,000 cubic feet per second coming out of the upper Weber. And so that high level snow melt hasn't started yet. According to the National Weather Service, that high 9,000 plus feet hasn't even started to ripen or condense down or anything. At the top of Hardscrabble at Lookout Peak, there's still 51 inches of water in the snow.
Can we just make a quick mention of maybe the look again for the but locations of sandbags, maybe how many sandbags we have, and then
Okay.
what they're used for.
Let's start by saying what we want to use them for, because let's start this way. I would like to say we have a lot of amazing volunteers in Morgan County, a lot of really helpful people, and they're willing to come out and help, and they're willing to help their neighbors and help people. The sandbags we have at this point, we need to start being a lot more judicious in how they are utilized, because we don't have enough sandbags to do what needs to be done. There's people asking me to help sandbag fields and outbuildings and things like that. I'm afraid there's not enough sandbags in the state of Utah to do that anymore, to help us. And so we need to be more judicious in how we use our sandbags. We need to use them to protect our infrastructure and primary residences. I know a lot of people would like to protect their outbuildings and other things, but we're going to be overwhelmed, and we're going to have to do everything we can to protect people's homes and our infrastructure. I know in the past, the Public Works Director and myself took some heat because we didn't breach a road. The problem with breaching a road is dealing with utilities. I know I got some pressure to go in and dig out a gravel bar next to a road. What the person that wanted me to do that did not understand was there was a 4-inch gas main underneath that gravel bar. And so besides the fact that the Army Corps of Engineers could potentially fine us up to $20,000 a day, I didn't want to hit a 4-inch gas main from Dominion. And so, as you guys are out there, a lot of times people don't know what they don't know. And if we don't follow their suggestions, there's probably a reason why. And sometimes they don't appreciate those answers. But the number one thing we need to do is protect life safety. And I appreciate when you mentioned in your prayer that we'd be protected with the heavy equipment and all the things we're doing. Because a young lady lost her life down in Weaver County yesterday. Well, we assume she's not been located. And so I know a lot of people get close to the stream banks. Up above East Canyon Reservoir, we tried to armor up a bridge with the big 1-ton sandbags, the 2,000-pound sandbags. We went back the next morning and 8 of them had been washed down stream. So if you think you can jump in the stream and do okay, if you're stronger than a 2,000-pound sandbag, maybe.
And we aren't there yet.
Yeah, we got a long way to go on this.
Probably the next couple months.
One of the things that you mentioned is being judicial and cautious as to how we use the resources that we have, the sandbags and such that we have. One of the things that I think we need to mention for the public's benefit is that sometimes what may look good for you may have impacts on your neighbors or on other people downstream, and we need to be looking at the whole picture. So please don't just go doing something without consulting with the county on that, whatever that may be. Even if somebody local in the neighborhood says, hey, this is a great idea, we really want you to consult with the county on it before you do it, so that we're sure to not cause a bigger problem downstream. Because no matter where you live in the county, somebody lives downstream. So we need to be really careful about that.
And there's a stream inside Morgan County where one landowner on one side went in and pulled out all the brush and willows and armored up their bank with a bunch of dirt. And the neighbor called the county and asked John and myself to come up and pull all the stuff off of his side of the bank.
Yeah.
Today, as I was standing there with him, and he realized that by tearing out all of the willows and shrubs and brush, that bank is now the one washing away. The one where we said, no, let's leave your bank alone. He's getting the more pressure, but his bank is standing because of the willows and everything that's holding his bank together. And so I got off the phone before I came here to a guy that wanted to pull out an old bridge abutment out of East Canyon Creek. And he asked me when the best time to do that was. And I told him last year. The next best time to do that's probably going to be in October or November. Talking to a lifelong farmer of the county, he says you never put a pipe in a ditch when it's raging, because it'll wash the pipe out. And so I just ask the public to be patient. Right now is not the time to go in and do anything drastic in the stream beds. But we'll do our best. We'll work our hardest to make sure that we'll protect what we can.
Thank you, Austin. Is there anything else that you need from us at the current time?
One thing I'm going to request.
Just call me anytime.
Yeah. Call Austin, but the other thing is if they're, besides just calling Austin, you can go onto the website. And we've set up the website so that way you can go in and report these incidents that are happening. But remember, we are trying to protect homes first.
Infrastructure and
outbuildings
homes.
may not ever get protected.
Correct.
And the other thing is if you do go out and do some volunteer work, make sure you go to the website afterwards and record it. And if your neighbor doesn't do it, and you don't, I mean, 'cause you can see it, and everybody that's reported it, if that by chance is not, like the other night, Sunday night, we were out there protecting that place Austin was talking about, that he took out all the brush, which was a mistake, and I've told him again today, because he's gonna wash out now. I'm afraid he will wash out no matter what happens, especially if it gets up 3 more feet. But if people can go and just report all of the time that you're spending on it, we need that.
Yeah.
As a county, we need that, right, Mike?
And I had the football team, most of them reported, I hope. But ultimately, with the volunteers, I appreciate everything they're doing.
Yeah.
And I like their excitement, but ultimately, when FEMA comes to town, they're not gonna be asking for volunteers. It's gonna be between myself and you guys. That's who FEMA's gonna wanna talk to. And so, the more people work with us, then there's accountability. When FEMA comes to town and starts asking questions, if we haven't
Done our part.
Agreed. So for the public, again, if you want to report flooding of any kind, or report volunteer hours that you've spent filling sandbags or any other work to prevent flooding, please go to the Morgan County website. There's a link from our homepage. You can also go to the emergency services page, and there's a link there. And please report it there. Austin cannot take all the phone calls that come in, and so that's why we set up the website, is to try to divert some stuff through there. But you can go and add pictures. You can tell us what's going on. We do have a emergency dispatch set up just for this event out of our fire station. So if a phone call comes in or a notification through the website, they're relaying that information to Austin and our Public Works Department. Our fire chief and sheriff as well are all involved in that. So the information is being dispersed correctly, but please help us by helping provide information to us.
May I say one more thing?
Sure.
I'm always saying one more thing. In a meeting I had the other day, they just said to make sure and tell you that we are more prepared now than we were in 1983 and 84. And they wanted to commend you basically on what has occurred. And this was from a former commissioner at that time. So that was a compliment to you guys. So I appreciate it.
I hope it's enough.
Yeah. But at least we're more prepared now than we were then.
Anything else for Austin? Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Austin.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm gonna go back to
Go
work.
get some rest.
You need some.
If you see Austin around, he likes it's not the rock stars. Yeah, it's the rock stars. the rejuvenation ones. All right. We're going to have just a very quick update from Mr. Gibson.